Welcome everyone to Ask Me Anything with a Python software engineer. Our speaker today is Yashika Sharma. And so a little bit about Yashika. She's a software engineer at Alvin.ai. She's from a tier 3 college where she never found support or opportunities to pursue her passion in tech. But throughout her journey, she found her own opportunities with the help of communities and online learning, even before COVID entered the world. She has worked on multiple technologies ranging from machine learning and data science to software development. She has contributed to open source projects like Scikit-learn and Keras. She spent a lot of time mentoring undergrads and underrepresented people to take their first step and pursue a passion in tech. She's been a keen supporter of diversity in tech and loves to meet people and exchange thoughts. So before we launch into our Q&A, we actually received a few questions ahead of time. So we're going to dive in and start answering some of those questions. And please feel free to leave any questions you have, because this is an Ask Me Anything session, in the Q&A section here on Zoom. And we will be taking breaks periodically to go and address some of your questions. So let's get started with some of the questions that we have received already. So, oh, sorry, I forgot about this slide. Okay, so we can ask Yashika anything about, these are some of the areas that she would love to answer your questions about: contributing to open source, finding jobs, software development, joining communities, resume building, and mentoring. Okay, so Yashika, first question, would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your career journey?
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. So hi, everyone. I'm Yashika. I am from India, but currently I am located in Tallinn, Estonia. I am working at Elven.ai, which is why I'm in Tallinn. I am a software engineer. I work mostly with Python, but throughout the past years, I've worked with multiple things. So initially, when I was starting out, I was very interested in machine learning. I learned all it by myself, and later I joined some communities to work on social good projects entirely using machine learning. Spent some time there, did some data science internships after that. And then I joined another community called Major League Hacking, where I spend major of my time working on open source projects, like as Stephanie mentioned, Scikit-learn, Keras. After contributing to open source projects, I continued working with Major League Hacking, especially mentoring undergrads and people who were looking to enter the tech. And I've worked on multiple software development projects in the meantime. And now finally I'm at Alvin.ai, where I'm totally into software development, mostly using Python.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Can you tell us about what you were working on at Alvin.ai?
Sure. So Elvin.ai, it's specifically a data lineage platform. So we have multiple features, but notably we have impact analysis, tagging, and for those who are not aware of impact analysis, it's basically like when you run some queries, it tells you what effect that query would have on basically like columns or rows. So like there are column level and column level lineage as well. So for me, when I joined Elvin.ai, the first task that I started working on was the integration. So I started working on the Airflow to BigQuery integration with our platform. There are a couple of other integrations as well, but that was the one that I started working on. And then I started working on the front end a bit. So this was the first time I actually worked with Vue.js and TypeScript. Thanks to my teammates who helped me getting started with the front end. So I worked a bit with the front end, and now I'm again working on the back end. My new project is regarding working on the SDK and preparing a CLI.
Fantastic. Where should I start? Where should I start first? On my tech journey? Where can I find free resources to help me on my journey?
Sure. So this specifically depends on what your interests are, because tech journey is like a very, very broad topic. So you need to find what you are interested in. So like whether it's web development, whether it's machine learning or software development, you need to find it for yourself. It doesn't mean that you need to work on each and everything to finally decide that what is that one thing that you want to continue working on. But it's really, really important to like have somewhat like some knowledge of what multiple options are, so that you can pick one thing and then start learning that. Free resources are everywhere. So I'll take an example of machine learning because I can better talk about the resources that I referred. So when I was interested in machine learning, like there was no course or like no support from the degree that I was doing at that time. So I learned everything entirely on my own online. The first resource that I could recommend is Coursera. So Coursera is a website where you can actually complete courses for free. Of course, like if you want to have the certificate, you can pay for that. Otherwise, you can also apply for financial aid and you can get the certificate for free as well. It's like the best resource. Multiple top universities and like professors have their courses there. I have taken the machine learning course from Stanford from there as well, and it's brilliant. I think the simplicity of the simplicity of how they explain the topic, it's amazing. And it's very easy to catch up, and there are assignments as well that you can complete on the site. So it's not just like watching videos, it's also like you are putting that into practice while working on the projects. Then of course YouTube, there's nothing that you cannot find on YouTube these days. So like just search for it, what you're interested, just search for it on YouTube and you're going to find it. Coursera, YouTube, Udemy. I think Udemy like takes a small amount of money. It's not very, very expensive. But if you want an additional platform to go to, Udemy can be another option. So these are some of the platforms if you prefer video-based learnings. But if you are into like reading blogs and just like getting information from there, then I would suggest you to subscribe to newsletters. There are so many amazing newsletters. So let's say you are into web development or you are into like data engineering, there are going to be so many newsletters. Just search for it on Google and you're going to like get a list from there. I think like the weekly newsletters for me especially are very important because you can catch up around like what's going on in the field that you're interested in. And of course, like some newsletter also mentions some resources that you can just refer if you're interested in.
Fantastic. And as kind of a follow-up to your response, we received a couple questions in the Q&A. So how do you start when you are familiarizing yourself with machine learning? And did you dive into the background math or did you build a project?
So it's important to have some mathematical knowledge to start machine learning. It's not like you need to be like a super brilliant at mathematics to dive into machine learning, because there are libraries you can just import and work with that. It's not very, very important to have the advanced mathematics knowledge to get started, but it's important to have some like base in that so that you can understand how the algorithms work. For me, I had some basic mathematics course during my first and second semester. So I had some knowledge from there. But again, if you do not have any subjects in your university or in your degree, it's important, like it's very easy to catch up. And on Coursera specifically, there are very quick, like a few hours of sessions available that you can just complete and get that basic mathematics knowledge that you need for machine learning. And I think like a very basic knowledge would be fine. Once you have that, it's important to understand the algorithms, because of course you can import things from Scikit-learn and other libraries, but it's also important to know how things are working, because like there are so many algorithms, you need to know what's going in the background to actually use something. So like once you are done with the base of the mathematics, then just like get familiarize yourself with the algorithms, and then after that, like when you're comfortable that you know how things are working, I think that is the point when you can actually start working on a project.
Wonderful, thank you. All right. What kind of projects look most impressive on a resume for a software dev?
So that depends on like what your focus or what your interest is, because software development is again like very, very broad title. It's not confined to one thing. But taking the example of Python, let's say you are a Python software developer and you need to put some projects on your resume. So like in my opinion, I think the projects which are end to end, like in which the whole pipeline or like the whole process is something that you have created on your own or you have worked on entirely on yourself, I think those are the best projects, because it shows that you can literally fit yourself in throughout the pipeline and you can work on multiple things if needed, especially when you're applying for startups. There's no specific thing that you'll be working on. Startups is like you are going to wear multiple hats and work on multiple things. So if you have a project where you can just show that from end to end you can work on anything, I think that would literally help you a lot. But apart from that, if like there's a specific thing that you need to focus on, like let's say you are very good at backend, so like some projects that can show your ability to specifically work on that, I think that would work great as well. So it depends on what type of roles you are targeting and what your interest is. So another tip that I want to give is, let's say like you are searching for jobs. So when you are like looking at the job titles and the job posting, look at what the requirements are. So on every job posting, the company posts about like what technologies they expect the applicants to know, and like what experience they are hoping for someone to have. Based on that, let's say there's some company or like that, let's say there's some title that you really want to get the job in, then I would suggest like pick those keywords from the job posting and start preparing your projects around that. So let's say there's a job title that requires AWS and it requires like CI/CD or like other skills. You can just like prepare a project which actually shows that you have worked on those things, and that would be very like that would be very helpful for you to target those specific roles after that.
Fantastic. Thank you. And just as a reminder, please feel free if you have any questions at all during the session at any point, please leave them in the Q&A session, and we will kind of bounce back and forth between the questions we received ahead of time and the ones that you are receiving now. Thank you so much. So what advice do you have for creating a one-page resume?
Yeah, so actually like a one-page resume is very important because recruiter don't spend a lot of time just looking at your resume. They just like take a few seconds and take a quick glance at your resume. So it's very important that you're highlighting everything you want the recruiter to know in just one page. And it's very difficult as well, because let's say you're working on multiple projects, you have a lot of experience. Condensing that and putting that in one page is not easy. So the advice here is to prepare sections and to use bullet points effectively to prepare a resume. So for me specifically, since like my university was not very like prominent or very like good, education was something that I put in the below of my resume. So like the last section that I had on my resume was education. So like let's say you have the section education, name your university, like your degree, and then like your CGPA or whatever if you want to mention that. And of course, if you are still in university, it's important to mention the month or the year you are graduating in. For people in university, it could be on top as well. Let's say you are in university and you're looking for internships. In that case, it might make more sense to like put the education on top, because some job postings or like some job roles for internships specifically, they require like a certain period of time. So it's like important to let them know that when you are graduating, or like when do you expect to graduate. So it could be on top, but for people who have already graduated, education could go like to the last section of your resume. Then another section that I would recommend having is work experience. So for professionals, this should be on top, like your work experience. There you can list the name of the company, and then within the bullet points you can put what you have worked on there. So I think per experience, let's say like per company, 3 bullet points at max are sufficient, because like you don't have to list each and everything that you did. The top 3 things that you think you should list for a particular job experience, I think those 3 could be the separate bullet points. And it's also important to put like numbers in your resume, because in case like there are ATS systems, it would be very helpful to have numbers in your resume so that it gets shortlisted. But apart from that as well, it's very like easy for someone to know how much effect you had on a particular thing if you have numbers and if you have like the metrics involved in your experience. So I would highly recommend that in each of your bullet point, just try to add some sort of metric. Let's say you worked on a project, so maybe you can mention like how much efficiency that increase, or like how much, like let's say if it was something that like improved the code base, like what was the metric, like how much did it improve the code base or something like that. This could be a work like section under work experience. I have worked on like quite a bit of projects at multiple companies. So I try to list 3 companies that I want the recruiter to note. 3 companies and 3 bullet points for each is something that I do personally. And then another section could be the projects. It's important to show that you have worked on like projects outside your job as well. For people looking for internships specifically, it's the most important. It's more important than the work experience, because you're still looking for experience and you're still applying for internships. The project section is the main section that you can use to convince the recruiter that you are a perfect fit for the job. So under projects, I think maximum 2 projects would be sufficient. So let's say you just put the title of your project and then put again like 2 bullet points or so mentioning what your project is about. And it's also important to mention the tools that you use on a particular project, for 2 reasons. First of all, again, for the ATS, the keyword matching could be done easily. Let's say like a particular job requires AWS and you have worked on a project using AWS, so that keyword would match. And for the recruiter, like if the recruiter is reading your resume, it's going to be easy for them as well to like just know like what tools you have worked on. Okay, work experience, project, education, and then the fourth could be tools and technologies. So like, of course, if you're preparing a 1-page resume, you cannot fit everything in the bullet points. So let's say you put some tools in the projects, but you couldn't put all the tools inside, like under your work experience section, then those tools can go under the tools and technologies sections. So under the tools and technologies sections, mention the languages that you are comfortable in, like let's say Python, Java, or whatever, and like the tools, Git or CIC, like other tools that you're comfortable with using. Or like you can also put the skills if you want. So it's not like, don't put like English or like communication there, because it's not something that you should base your space on putting, but like put the technical stuff there. And yeah, I think another section that I would recommend if you have space left on a resume would be communities, because like some startups or like some specific companies look for people who are involved like in communities outside their job as well. So let's say you have volunteered somewhere and you have some experience with that, you can have a separate section called communities, and you can like put your leadership experience or like volunteering experience under that. Like another advantage of that would be, let's say you're working in a startup and they want someone who can own the process, who can like lead their project on their own, and they don't need a lot of help. So that particular section could actually show that this person is capable of leading things and this person has the prior experience doing that. So that would be my suggestion preparing your 1-page resume.
Fantastic, thank you. And just a reminder for everyone attending to make sure that you're putting your Q&As, your questions in the Q&A section and not in the chat, to make sure that we are capturing everything. So we did have a few follow-ups to some earlier discussion. So someone is asking, what kind of support did you receive on the job?
Talking about my current job. So like when I say I receive the support, it's not like you have to rely on your co-workers for each and everything. But like it's also important to ask for help when you are stuck. So it's like an essential skill as well to know when to ask for help, because like you can just spend hours just staring at a screen and just wasting time. But like it would be a lot easier if you just can reach out to someone who has done that earlier. So in my example, I like my coworker was like working on front end already, and she had a lot of experience with that, and I had no experience with front end. So I had a session with her and she gave me a walkthrough of like the front end code base and how things are connected, so that like I like before creating something new, I could know that how the connections are happening, where to put what, and that's the sort of support I received. And of course, like since that was the first time I was working on the front end, I had some errors and issues, so I just jumped on the call with her and did the pair programming. I think my coworker is here as well, Mariana, so she helped me in that process. So yeah, that is the sort of support that I received. But apart from that, like apart from the front end and the tasks that I worked on, I also like get mentorship from like the people that I'm working with. It's like a very nice environment. I can just reach out to my co-workers if I need help regarding anything, and if I have any questions. And I would recommend everyone to like reach out to their team members if they are stuck on anything, because I think it's the most important thing that you can do. And it's very important to have the compatibility and like doing pair programming sessions with your co-workers, so that like you know where to reach out for help.
Wonderful. And the same person asked this question, which goes right in line with that. She asked, did buddy programming help you along your journey? If so, how did you select your activities projects and what did you work on?
I didn't get the question. Can you please repeat it again?
Did buddy programming help you along your journey? If so, how did you select your activities projects and what did you work on?
So buddy programming is something like the pair programming is something that's specifically that I do on the job. But when I was starting out, it's not like something that I did or like something common that someone would do, because when you're starting out, you need to find your interest and you need to find your passion and the things that you're interested in yourself. You just like cannot ask someone to jump on a pair programming session until unless you are very sure that you want to work on a specific thing. So when you are starting out, just spend like time yourself learning things online and like finding what your interest is. And like pair programming is something that might help, like let's say you're working on a project and you're stuck, and then like you're stuck for a lot of time and then you need help. At that moment pair programming can be helpful. But again, like it's not ideal to like reach out to everyone for each and every problem that you are facing, because as a developer or like as a programmer, it's important to find answers for yourself as well. And like there is Stack Overflow, there is YouTube, there are blogs, there is everything. So most probably you're going to find answers for yourself online with just a little bit of research and debugging. But like yeah, if it takes a lot of time and you're still stuck at it, then it's better to like have pair programming sessions with someone like you're working with, or someone you know can help you out with it.
Fantastic. And a follow-up to that, how did your pair programming sessions work?
So pair programming sessions work in terms of it's not entirely something that you can rely on the other person you're pair programming with. So like before even starting pair programming, you need to do your research. So let's say, like again taking the example of the front end, let's say I'm working on a front end task. I need to know like what the scope of the project is. I need to know like what I want to see as the output. And I want to like I have to work on the base myself before like doing the pair programming. Let's say like I have all the like scopes and features in my mind clear out. Then like I'll try to write some code myself. It doesn't have to be working, but there should be something that you have written yourself. And then let's say it doesn't work and you need help, so then you jump on a pair programming session with someone, and then they can just like read through your code while you're sharing your screen. You can just let them know like, yeah, this is something that I've done so far, I'm stuck here, like can you help me out with this? Then the other person can just like like share like, yeah, this is the error and you can like fix this actually by doing this, or like so and so. So it's like you start by working on it yourself, and then you are stuck, and if you have questions then you reach out to someone. And like during the pair programming, you just ask questions, or like you just ask for help, and then the other person can just like help you fix the things that are not working for you.
Wonderful. So another question we have, what can be the learning path for a Python software developer? Is it confined to data science or machine learning domain?
So the path to being a Python software engineer is of course to learn Python first. Like data science and machine learning, this could be like as a software developer, it's not important that you're going to work with data science and machine learning directly. However, there are some startups that are like mainly around data science and machine learning. So even though you have the title of software engineer, or like even if you have been appointed as a software engineer, there might be instances that you would get a chance to work on machine learning and data science. Because I had that. I worked with a startup, primarily like I joined them as a software engineer, but since they had multiple things going on, I got a chance to jump on the data science side of things and work on that as well. So entirely depends on the company and the product that you're working on. But if, like, let's say if you're interested in data science and machine learning, but of course you are also like a software engineer, you can specifically look for jobs or companies that are doing data science and have like the software engineering roles open. And during the interviews, it's very important to like ask them. Let's say you like you land the interview, you can just ask them like, hey, I know this is like the software engineering position, but I have interest in data science or machine learning. Would there be instances where I would get to work on these technologies? If so, like what would the projects would look like, and like how often can I work on those? So you can ask like these sort of questions while like interviewing, so that you know that you're going to get chance to work on things that you are really interested in. And of course, interviewing is a two-way thing. It's not just the interviewer asking you questions, it's also you asking them questions, because it has to be a mutual fit. Because since you spend a lot of time and the majority of your life working at a job, it's important that you are satisfied, and it's important that you are actually working on something that you are interested in.
Fantastic. So another question from the audience here. Someone is asking, do you think someone would qualify for an engineering role with an associate's in computer science? This person has their bachelor's in pre-med, and they are considering graduate school and interested in a software internship.
So I would say, like, this is entirely my opinion, but I would say like degrees doesn't matter a lot while finding jobs. Like even though I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, the most of the things that I've learned and I've worked on, like those things are something that were not included in my degree at all. Like I didn't have even a single subject that taught me those things, and I learned everything entirely on my own, just with the online free resources. I didn't even pay a lot of money to learn things that I wanted to learn. So I think degree doesn't even matter. If you are interested in something, there are like multiple paths to land the job you want without even having a degree. My co-worker Mariana, she has a degree in civil engineering, but she's a software developer and she's amazing at it. So that definitely shows that you don't need a specific degree to land the roles you want. However, it might be helpful to like join some sort of boot camp if you want. Let's say you are learning everything by your own, and you're not able to like land a job, or like you need some additional help, then it might make sense to join some sort of boot camps and like go from there. But it's not entirely necessary. You can just like start working on the projects, show the recruiters that you know what the like you know the technologies that are the requirements for a particular job, and you don't need any degree if you can just show your skills via projects.
Wonderful. And we have another question. What are Python's advantages and disadvantages, specifically comparing to languages such as C++ and Java?
So this question has answers which are very very technical, but like I'll rather talk about like in the non-technical terms here. So Python is very easy to use, to be honest. So like for a particular task that you use, like you do in Python, it's going to be a few lines of codes. But as compared to Python, if you do that same thing in Java or C++, it's going to be like a lot more doing the same task. So it's like the ease of working on a particular thing. But of course, C++ is faster than Python. So in that case, like of course, if that's something, then you can prefer C++. But to be honest, like if you are interested in data science and machine learning, then Python should be your go-to language, because like for data science and machine learning, all the libraries and frameworks there, like there are like frameworks which are supported by Python and R, and like R is mostly some like R is something that I wasn't interested in, so that is why I chose Python. And if you are interested in machine learning and data science, then the obvious choice would be to use Python. But of course, I would suggest you to experiment a bit, so that if you want to explore multiple languages, start exploring it. You shouldn't have to pick only one thing and continue doing it. I know people that who are Python software engineers, but they also work with C++ or Java. So it all depends on your interest. There are disadvantages and advantages, but it boils down to what you are interested in.
All right, next question. Should we read all library documentation when we are learning a specific library, or what do we have to do while learning a new library?
So reading the whole documentation while you're working, while you're learning something new, is not possible. And even if let's say you read the whole documentation, you wouldn't remember everything. So it's better to get the basic knowledge of a framework or language that you're going to work on, and then while you're working on it, then you can have the documentation open on the side and then refer it. So it doesn't make sense to go through the documentation entirely and then start working on something, because you probably won't remember anything, everything that you'll read from the documentation. So it goes by working on something and then referring the documentation side by side. And to learn a new framework, was that the question, how to learn a new framework? Okay, so of course, for learning a new framework as well, there are multiple courses that you can take. Again, I'll take the name of Coursera and YouTube. You can just type the name of a framework that you're interested in. Let's say PyTorch. There is the introduction to PyTorch course on Udacity as well, and it's free of cost. So you can just type free courses for a particular thing, and you'll just get a lot of resources there. One thing that I did when I was learning things was, let's say I was interested in machine learning, and I needed some recommendations. I would reach out to someone on LinkedIn or Twitter who is a machine learning engineer or someone who is working in this field, and I would just ask them, hey, I'm interested in this, and I have done my research so far. I know this. For the next steps, what would you recommend me to pick and start learning on? And also, do you have any resources that you refer that you would recommend me to refer as well? So I gathered most of my resources by just reaching out to people and asking them what worked for, what they referred when they were learning. So I think it's very easy to reach out to someone with specific questions. People are always there to help you out. Just mention that what you have done so far and what you want to do next, and everyone would be everyone would be happy to send you resources and send some suggestions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So what are some ways to get an entry-level job that utilizes Python?
The best way would be to create projects. For me, I also started contributing to open source projects. So the Scikit-learn and Keras that I chose were they had Python in the code base. So that was the plus to choose those two projects to contribute to. I think preparing projects is the most important and the primary way to get the entry level jobs, because when you don't have any prior experience and you don't have references who can vouch for you, you can only rely on your projects and skills, and that's the only way that you can show people that, yeah, I am familiar with these things and I can actually work on it. And referring to one of my previous answers, I would recommend preparing projects which show your ability end to end. Let's say there's a data analysis project. Let's say you want to work on some sort of analysis project. Then for that, what you can do is start working on getting the data yourself, because it's easy to get data from Kaggle or download the data sets available. But if you can scrape the data yourself, if you can extract that yourself, it would show that, yeah, this person is capable of working on this thing as well. So the companies would be assured, let's say in case we hire this person for data analysis, and in future if we want this person to extract the data, they would be able to do that themselves. So start by extracting the data and getting the data yourself. Prepare Python scripts to get that data, and then again prepare scripts to clean that data, transform that data. That's another layer of the project that you'll be working on. And then yeah, like there would be multiple steps in between, but like the gist of it is just prepare projects end to end, like show that you can extract the data yourself, you can clean it yourself, you can analyze it yourself, and if it's possible, like deploy it somewhere so that like someone can actually go to a link and see your work like in real time. So if you can own the whole pipeline, I think that that would be very, very impressive, and it would put a lot of weight on your resume.
Fantastic. Did you prepare for data structures and algorithms? And how can we prepare for it in Python?
So this is the question that I used to ask to most of the peoples when I was learning and when I was working like to get jobs. This was the question that I used to ask each and everyone, that is data structure important? Is this something that I need to do before landing a job? The answer is yes, you do need some knowledge of it, but you don't need to be like grinding on lead code day and night just for getting like the job. So people might agree or disagree with my answer, but for me personally, I don't think like data structures and algorithm would be like I don't think like doing a lot of lead code questions would be really enough to get a job, specifically in startups where like the environment is fast paced and you need to work on multiple things. You need to show your abilities to work on projects rather than just like solving like a binary tree or like a graph problem. uh, so yes, it's important to like know what data structures exist and like how things work, but it's also like not important to just spend your whole time on lead code and just solving those sort of questions just to land a job. So I think what you can do is prepare a balance between these two things. Let's say you are applying for jobs, so I would suggest like spending 45 minutes or 1 hour of your day solving like a medium or easy lead code question, so that you know like how to solve those questions if that sort of question appears in an interview. And like rest of your time could go on learning new things and preparing the projects actually.
Fantastic. Can you walk through the timeline of your typical workday?
Sure. So it's like I work on like non-technical things as well. So on the community side of things for the company. So I start my day at 10. It usually starts by checking all the emails and Slack notifications and like jump on anything if there's anything urgent. And then I spend some of my time like figuring out the community stuff. So like I usually try to spend like start my day not with the very technical things so that I don't like burn my brain right away. I start with the non-technical things initially, and like after like 1 or 1.5 hours of working on that, then I jump on the technical thing that I'm working on. Let's say there's a technical task that I'm doing. I just like there's this format that we follow. We prepare like multiple task ticket sort of thing so that we can work on things sequentially and like step by step. So like I just pick my ticket and start working on that, and like in the meantime if I need any help, I would schedule pair programming sessions, or if there's something like I need more information on, I would just schedule meetings with my co-workers and like have the discussion with them.
My major is Python, but I cannot decide what I want to do: web development, DevOps, or automation. What advice do you have for me?
So I think for this question, choosing what you want to work on depends on again your interest. And so like for me specifically, I was also struggling to like choose between web development, machine learning, and a lot of things when I was starting out. So I don't think like I wouldn't call it a mistake, but I wasted quite a bit of time just like experimenting with a lot of things, and then eventually deciding that I'm not interested in web development or Android development, and I want to like shift my interest from there. So for you, what I would suggest you is just like find what you're interested in. Maybe spend some time like learning, like let's say for web development, maybe spend some time going through like what sort of projects web development has, and if that's something that you want to work on. And like DevOps or like automation specifically is something like that you work on being a software engineer as well. So like I haven't seen a lot of job title specifically for automation. So like web development could be like one path, DevOps could be one path, but automation is something like that you can still do while you are software engineer or like in a similar job title. But yeah, like experiment with things. Don't spend a lot of time just like figuring out what you want to do, but it's important to spend some time just to see through the projects, like what the work would be, and like if the technologies interest you at all, before choosing something and like diving deep into it. And then like once you have figured out what you want to do, the next step would be again like preparing projects in it, and like just like gaining more experience while working on things yourself.
Fantastic. Could you please share some tips on networking? How do we approach recruiters, join appropriate communities, etc.? And this person is also from a tier 3 college and does not have many on-campus job opportunities.
Sure. So for joining communities, it depends on what you're working on. So like when I started learning Python, I just like went online and searched like online communities for Python, and Women Who Code Python was the first one that popped up on my search list. So like this is something that you can do for yourself as well. Women Who Code has multiple tracks. So like there's Python track, data science, blockchain, web development, and Android development. So like basically if you're interested in like a particular thing, join, like search for those specific communities. These days like there are a lot of Discord communities and Discord like groups as well, where people from like a particular field or a particular channel, they just join in, and then you can reach out to people for help and like study together, or like do like study sessions as well. So yeah, that is how I found communities. You just have to like search for the communities online, and I think like the key is tapping into one community. Let's say like you found Women Who Code Python, or like Women Who Code web development, or whatever you're interested in. Join that one community, and from there like you can make connections and find following communities as well. So I joined Women Who Code Python first. I joined the study groups to start learning Python, and then like when I found that there are like data science, like there's this data science track as well, I joined the data science track. I joined the sessions that were going on in that track, and I found that okay, data science is something that I'm interested in as well. So like that, like things are connected. You find one community, you find your interest, and then you can subsequently find multiple communities based on that. For networking, I think what you can do is like there are so many conferences, and like after COVID, everything has mostly shifted online. So like just attend online conferences or like online sessions. There are so many webinars like this. They like there are so many webinars you can find on Twitter or LinkedIn. Just like go through those webinars, ask mindful questions, like reach out to the speaker after the session, or like ask questions after the session if you want. I think that is how you build the bond. Directly asking someone, like directly reaching out to a recruiter for job, you don't like, let's say you're reaching out to someone you don't know, it doesn't seem nice, and I don't think like it's the best thing to do. If you connect with someone before you are looking for a job, it's going to be better. So like the general rule is make connections before you need a job. So like it's like you just like reach out to people, make connections with them, and like get help from them. Let's say like you are learning something, you want to learn something, you want to get their advice on like the path that you are choosing. Just like ask questions to them, that like try to create the organic connection with them. And then when the time would come, let's say you need some favor, like at that time you can ask for a favor, or like you can ask like, hey, can you refer me for a particular job? And I think at that time they would be happy to do that, because they would be assured, okay, I know this person has worked on these things, and this person is sincere, and yeah, then it's going to be easy to like get referrals after that. So I think like just like focus on creating connections first, rather than asking for favors and getting referrals for jobs.
Great advice. Thank you. You might have kind of already answered this, but what advice do you have for finding the right communities based on one's interests?
Yeah, so again, like being active on LinkedIn and Twitter helps a lot as well. The other day I saw on Twitter that someone created actually a Discord channel for women in tech, and like people were joining, just like seeing that tweet, they were just joining the Discord channel, and it grew from 10 to 800 people in like within minutes. So that's how like you can find communities as well. But yeah, like Google search or like go to conferences, because like there are so many communities that sponsors or like that part, like those part like communities partners with the conferences and sessions as well, so you can just like get information and know about these communities from there as well.
So I have a question that it's a little bit long. For someone who has a broad but not deep range of experience in different techs, for example, boot camp grad, is it better to invest time and energy into improving your skills by doing projects and practicing algorithms before applying for jobs? Or is it worth it to apply for jobs where you have some knowledge of the tech stack, but still feel underqualified for the job? And then the part two, how much time did you invest in teaching yourself new tech before applying for jobs?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think if you are not confident that you like for a particular job, if you feel that you are not qualified enough, I think it's better to spend some time working on the projects. So like what I did was, like when I was learning things and I was like working on some projects, and I was confident, okay, like I know like the tech stack now, and I'm comfortable working on projects regarding a specific thing, I started applying for the jobs. Like initially you will get a lot of rejections, and that's fine. You don't have to like bring your morale down just because you're like getting rejected. It's normal, especially if you are applying for early career roles. It's very common to get rejected for like multiple jobs. I have seen that myself as well. But the key is like start applying for a job, but don't leave working on projects side by so like start working on projects and like keep learning side by side, and then apply for jobs as well. So like you're saving time, like you're applying for jobs and you're learning at the same time, so you're not wasting any time with that. If you land any interview, let's say you land a particular interview and you don't like get through the process, it's fine, but at least you get the gist of like what the questions might be, and like it would give you a little bit more confidence before like appearing in the next interview. So like each interview that you give, even if you're not successful in it, you get more experience about like what you should learn. So like when I was giving interviews, there were like some interviews where the recruiter asked me some question I wasn't aware of. So like before my next interview, I would just like go research about the topic and learn that. So I think like keep applying jobs side by side, and like keep learning as well. The worst that could happen is the job, like you wouldn't get a job offer, but the best could happen is you can get the idea of what to expect in the interviews, and like be prepared for that.
We're going to talk a little bit about open source. So someone is asking, how can I get started with open source contributions?
Yeah, so like open source contributions, it seems very daunting at first. I was myself very scared before starting with open source contribution, and it's obvious because like there are projects with huge code base, and it looks like a very deep sea. You don't know how to approach any issue or like start working on something. It's normal, but to be honest, it's not very difficult. So of course, like before even starting with the open source contribution, it's important that you're like familiar with Git and GitHub, you know, version control system, and like you know the basics of like GitHub, let's say pull requests and issues, and like it's important that you are familiar with all of those things. And then actually GitHub has something called Hacktoberfest. It's like a month-long thing that goes in October, where people new to open source can just like work on beginner friendly projects and start contributing there. But like you don't need to wait for October to start working on the open source projects. What I would suggest is let's say you want to contribute to Python open source projects. Just go to Google and like search beginner friendly Python open source projects, and like go to the project, and then under the issue section, there would be like multiple issues that the maintainers would put. So there would be tags. Most probably you will see tags attached to each and every issue. So let's say like there are issues, filter for the tags which says beginner friendly, so that you'll only see the issues which are beginner friendly, and then like read through the issues. Let's say there's something that you find interesting, then comment on that issue, like hey, I'm interested in working on this, and I'd like to make a PR for this. Like you can then start working on like working on that issue and make a PR. So it's like more about the process of how to make your first contributions. But I think like it's also easy these days to find support before starting your open source contribution. So like this community called Major League Hacking, I've spent quite a bit of time there. They have multiple programs like prep program and like open source programs and externships. So they basically help people to contribute to open source projects. There are like sponsor projects, or there are like open source projects that are present, and you have access to the maintainers. You can like in a group of people or in a team, you can just like start working on a particular issue, on a task, or and you can just like start contributing. So I would like suggest finding similar communities. Major League Hacking is one, but there are many communities like that. Just join those communities and like start making PRs. Your initial PRs would not be ideal. There would be a lot of comments on that. Like maintainers would like leave reviews for you, but take that as the constructive feedback, because they are there to improve you. And like the more reviews you get, the more you learn the right process of making like the ideal PR that you want to make in future.
Fantastic. So more about open source. What open source projects have you worked on? And did you work on any open source projects that helped you get hired?
Yeah, so like I have worked on quite a bit of open source projects, but the three primary projects that I contributed to during the Major League Hacking Fellowship itself were Scikit-learn, Keras, and Bento ML. These three projects were the projects that I chose because at that time I was working with machine learning a lot, and I like before contributing to these open source projects, I had some internships in data science and machine learning as well. So like I had like the basic experience needed to contribute to these projects. So that is why I chose these projects. And like I think it definitely matters while like if you're applying for jobs, and if you have open source contributions, it's going to favor you a lot, because like almost every company use GitHub for maintaining their code base. So if you can show that, yeah, you are able to like navigate through the large code base, and you are able to make PRs and fix things, it's going to help you a lot. So like it's not just like you're making an open source contribution, it's not just like you're helping projects moving forward, but it's also like you are showing companies that yeah, I know how to handle these things, and I know how to work on things, and I like in my daily job I would be able to tackle these things myself. So that is why like open source contributions are like important, or I would say like advantageous. If you have any contributions, it definitely helps you to land jobs. For me, yes, Scikit-learn, like the contributions to Scikit-learn was very important for me to land an internship that I applied for afterwards.
How much longer would you like to go, Yashika?
It's 1 a.m. For me. So if there are like any final questions, I'd be happy to take those.
So we responded to questions that have been posted in the Q&A. There's still some more questions that had come in through the form beforehand, but it's up to you how much longer you would like to continue.
We can quickly answer those.
Awesome. Do you have any resume and cover letter samples that you recommend for, this is for a teacher changing careers into tech?
I do not have any cover letter samples, and I haven't written any cover letters myself. I don't think that's important. Like I rarely know anyone who like wrote cover letters and got a job specifically because of the cover letter. So I wouldn't like worry about cover letters. But yes, resume, like again, it is similar to what we have answered earlier. Even if you're changing careers to tech, I think like your resume could be something that highlights your experience regarding your personal projects. So like it's fine if you don't have like previous work experience in tech. What you can do instead is you can like make your project section a bit longer. So like make more bullet points under that, add like like I mentioned, adding 2 projects under the project section. But if you don't have like work experience, you can like make that 3 projects under the project section, and you can like add bullet points accordingly. And like apart from that, the tools and technologies, communities, and like other things, education would go same as well. And even though you don't have any degree in like tech, it's important to mention the last degree that you completed. So it's fine if it's not in tech, but you can also like mention that on the resume.
Awesome. And that is all the questions that have come in. So awesome. So I think we can, we can probably close out the session shortly. So I just want to say a big thank you and congratulations to Yashika for all the time you've spent answering questions. And, this has really been fantastic. And you've offered up so much amazing advice. And anything you want to speak to on this slide?
Sure. So like, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Like throughout my journey, one thing that I'm grateful for is the mentors and the communities. So I didn't have like someone I knew when I started. So I just like joined communities. I just reached out to people on LinkedIn and just asked for help, and they helped me a lot. And like now they are my mentors, and I'm very grateful to have them in my journey. Similarly, if someone like wants any help or suggestion, I would be very, very happy to like support you or like work with you with whatever you need help with. Just reach out to me, and I would be very, very happy to help in any way I can.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you so much again for your time and all your wonderful advice. It's been so valuable to the community, and I learned a lot as well. And I really appreciate this time with you. And thank you everyone so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you at future events.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.